Greetings. Welcome to another episode of I Have a Testimony with your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
There's so much I can say about our guest today, brothers and sisters. She's a mother, she's an activist, a hip-hop artist, and she has great love for our people, both those who are descendants of enslaved Africans who were brought here and our Native American family as well. And her love for our people is undeniable. She's not only one that talks the talk, but she walks. Help me to welcome our guest today, Sister Queen YoNasda Lonewolf. Greetings, dear sister, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much. Walaikum salam. I'm so honored to be on this show. I've been watching everyone else share their testimony. So to be able to be a part of this is amazing. Thank you.
Well, we thank you. And just when I started being able to get what I thought was the pronunciation of your name down, I saw the recent post and you phonetically put it. I was trying to find it, so excuse me if I haven't mastered it yet. All right.
It's okay. It's YoNasda.
YoNasda. So I'm gonna work on it. So let's get straight down to it. So as I prepared for this interview, I came across numerous pictures of you, and I tell you, there were very few pictures that I can find of you that did not have you with your fist clenched in the air, right? And which symbolizes the revolutionary spirit, and it also symbolizes the solidarity with oppressed people as well. And it just was amazing. It just was beautiful. So can you share with us just the genesis of your revolutionary spirit?
You know, I was born with my fist up. My late mother, YoNasda Lonewolf, was a part of the American Indian movement, and she was there was a protest called the Longest Walk, and it was a protest from Alcatraz, San Francisco to Washington D.C. in 1977, 1978. And so what I ended up, my mother basically was protesting and did that walk from Alcatraz, San Francisco to Washington, D.C. That's how Chief Ernie Longwalker got his name, is because he walked. It was Ernie Peters, but then they gave him a name of Longwalker because he walked from Alcatraz, San Francisco to Washington, D.C. So I was born in Washington, D.C. And so when I was in my mother's womb, I was hearing all of these chants. I was hearing the prayer songs and all of that. And so I literally was born with my fist up, born into a movement. And I think that that's where I get my spirit, where it comes from, is because of what I was hearing and experiencing in my mother's womb during during that time.
Yeah, definitely. And I also came across information about your mother and how she worked as a public relations director for Muhammad Ali. Was there any stories that she shared with you that about her time with the champ that you can actually share with the audience?
Yeah, so basically I am working on trying to get my mother's story into a movie. My mother, YoNasda Lonewolf, is from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. She is full-blood Oglala Lakota Native American, and from the Pine Ridge Reservation. And so she ended up moving to New York City because NBC needed to hire someone to fill their quota of Native Americans. And so they ended up hiring my mother to work for NBC. She was the first Native American to work for NBC. When she went to an event, like a networking event or whatever, that's when she met Don King, and that's when she met Muhammad Ali. And when Muhammad Ali met her and saw her, he was like, my mother was like, yeah, my name is YoNasda Lonewolf. And he said, oh, Pocahontas. And that name stuck with her for a while. And so everyone in the sports industry was calling her Pocahontas. So what she ended up doing was, is Don King ended up hiring her as his public relations director. So she did all the PR work behind the Thriller in Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle, all of these major fights, and that's when she met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the camp. Used to have a camp in upstate New York, and a lot of people used to go up there and meet with Muhammad Ali at the training camp. And so when the minister met my mother, that my mother said in her book, he said, he was like, "What is your name?" Now she hid from him and other brothers because she heard about stories of the brothers in the bow tie, how intimidating they are. And so my mother said, "My name is Pocahontas." And he said, "Is that your real name?" And my mother was like, "No, it's YoNasda." And he goes, "Well, I don't think you should be named Pocahontas because of what Pocahontas has done to her people. Do you know who Pocahontas is?" And what a lot of people don't know is that Native Americans do not know, especially during that time, knowing their own history. But also because of boarding schools, they've been forced into boarding schools to decolonize. One of the presidents said, kill the Indian, save the man. And that was a mission that he did, to be able to kidnap all these Native American children from the 1700 all the way to 1990 to go into boarding schools. So let alone knowing their own history, but also knowing other tribal history. So with the story of Pocahontas, she didn't really know, the story of Pocahontas. And the minister, being from Massachusetts, where the area of Pocahontas is from, he educated my mother on who Pocahontas is. And then my mother said to the minister, she was like, "Well, you could tell the heavyweight champion of the world that to not call me Pocahontas anymore." But that was the beginning of my mother's introduction into the Nation of Islam, her introduction into helping and aiding the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the relationships between Native Americans, Latinos, and indigenous people within the Nation of Islam. And so my mother, in a movie called When We Were Kings, you will see, that's the picture you just posted, is a picture of my mother sitting next to Muhammad Ali from that movie. She was sitting next to him the entire time of When We Were Kings. So my memories of Muhammad Ali was, I was always, Muhammad Ali used to always love doing these magic shows for his guests. And so I used to be his helper, for while he do these magic shows. And I was very young, and I loved playing with his children and going to his house. And he just had such a youthful spirit, with young people. And I used to always love to go to, Uncle Muhammad Ali's home and to be at the fights and the training camps and just anything that I could, I was right there with my mom through that whole ordeal. So it was beautiful.
Wow, that's definitely beautiful. And since we were talking about your mother, I also found out how she played a very instrumental role in helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan during the rebuilding period of the Nation of Islam. And she also helped former President Muammar Gaddafi, may Allah be pleased with him, to organize an indigenous conference in Libya. And as a result of that, she was approached by the FBI to be an informant, and she refused. Can you share with the audience what happened as a result, and just the challenges and the trials that she experienced of standing strong?
Yeah, and the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was really just wanting, how it started is that he wanted a prayer for, Power at Last in 1985. Mm-hmm. He wanted a Native American prayer, as an introduction for Power at Last. And my mother was like, we don't just come out and just pray like that. You need to experience us. You need to experience Native Americans. And so you need to ask the spirits and ask Allah, if for permission, if we should have this prayer. So this is when he met with Chief Ernie Longwalker and Warrior Woman, and he experienced his first sweat lodge ceremony. And so within that ceremony, that's when he got his answers in regards to having the close relationship between the Blacks and Native Americans. And in our teachings in the Nation of Islam, one of our questions is, what is the population of the original nation in the Western Hemisphere? And it's the 17 million Indians. 17 million original people plus the 2 million Indians equals 19 million original people in the Western Hemisphere. And so the word with, the 17 million with the 2 million Indians, that word with is such an important word, in regards to we're not trying to convert Native Americans to be Black, and Black people are not converting natives, vice versa. It's with. And knowing and understanding that the Black and the red are two great nations that could unite, but and to work with each other. And so my mother helped the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on bridging the indigenous community, not just within North America, but South America and Canada. And so during this time, Muammar Gaddafi had he loved indigenous people of the world, and he invited Native Americans to come to Libya. And so with her and Student Minister Akbar Muhammad was able to, and the minister to able to unite and gather all of these great leaders from North and South America to come to Libya. And because this was a time when Muammar Gaddafi was looked at as a terrorist and all of that. And so they had to find someone that had a prior record. And my mother did have a prior record with my father, Thaddeus McCall. And so because of that, they came to her and said, we want you to be an informant. If not, we're going to trump up some charges on you, and you'll do 7 years in prison. And my mother ended up doing those years in prison. Wow. And then that's when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Maria Muhammad and Olive Muhammad adopted me and my brother when my mother went to prison.
Wow. And it's you really, I really admire how you also, not only the history of our people and our brothers and sisters of the Native American community, but also the history of your mother as well. And I really, really admire that, and I sense it. And it's what's interesting, sister, my genesis personally of my consciousness began with me first learning about what this white man did to our Native American brothers and sisters, So that was powerful. If you can briefly share, because I know some of our people may not know about this, the boarding schools, before we go into our next break within the next 2 minutes.
Yes, the boarding schools, basically the government didn't feel that Native American adults was able to take care of their children. That's really, and so they kidnapped and took Native American children and put them in the Catholic boarding schools, and they forced religion upon them. And like I said, I can't remember the president, but the president's whole mission, I think it was Roosevelt or Jefferson, one of these presidents, they was the slogan was, kill the Indian, save the man. And it happened all the way up into 1990s. In the 1990s, many reservations all across this nation was still forcing Native Americans into colonial Catholic schools, to strip their Native American culture.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that history. We're approaching our first break, so we're going to pause for some public announcements, and we'll be back with our guests.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds. Online education. Helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on numerous occasions has pointed out how many of the major world religions today can learn a lot from the rituals of our Native American brothers and sisters regarding the value of the woman.
The Sundance ceremony, the Inipi, they all surround around the woman. You know, in the Nation of Islam teachings, it says no nation can rise no higher than this woman. So in Lakota tradition, the woman is exalted, you know, which is something that in urban America could learn a lot from, that the woman is on a pedestal, and all the ceremonies all surround around the strength, the pain, the joys, the cries, everything around the woman. And so the men praise that because of the fact that we're able to give birth, and we have 9 months of giving birth. So if we look at the Inipi, it looks like the womb of Mother Earth, or the womb of the mother. So, and then just like in Islamic traditions, you know, when we do salat, we have to go down and humble ourselves when we do salat. So even when you go in here, it's kind of like a representation of salat as well, because you have to go down. You have, when you get on your knees and go down, that you're humbling yourself before God.
We're back with our guest, Sister YoNasda. I'm working on it, sister.
You got it.
So before the break, you talked about how your mother was arrested, and it separated you and your brother. I think you were 8 at that time, and your brother was 3. And then as a result of that, you were taken in by the family of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. What was that experience like to be, you know, watched, just taken care of by the minister and his family during that time?
You know what? I am in full gratitude, because we, you know, when we talk about children of incarcerated parents, you know, the system could easily have taken us. And I thank the family of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to take me in as a daughter, as a granddaughter, as a niece, you know, as a cousin, you know, to take me in and to grow up with the entire family. As I never saw it as I am different. I didn't see, me and my brother both, I think it was the best childhood that we ever had, because, you know, being a child of a freedom fighter, as my mother, you know, we were constantly, my mother was running from the feds. You know, she was constantly, it was a very heightened time. So I had, at a very young age, prior to the family taking me in, I had to learn how to be to grow up fast and mature fast, and to be very conscious, very, very fast. And so it was beautiful that I was able to have a childhood in Chicago. And we did so much amazing things. And at the same token, for me to be able to learn Islam. And because my mother, you know, she's Native American spirituality, or what we call the Red Road spirituality. And she was also too learning Islam. She did register as a Muslim. She was an MGT as well, but she also incorporated Native American spirituality with that. And then so going to Chicago, I was able to also polish my Islam, you know, and so I am totally grateful. The family is still my family. It's not like a phase. And so when my mother came out of prison, She was in a halfway house, and then she had me and my brother again. And then every summer, every holiday, we was constantly spending it in Chicago. And so, so that is the family. That family is what I know as my family. Even at times more than my own blood family, you know. And so I am grateful for the love and the unconditional love from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the entire family. I really am. You know, that's auntie, uncles, everybody. So.
And I came across in an interview that you did, you talked about how you learned great lessons about humility and patience and unconditional love and serving God and strength, you know, from observing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Can you share with us how, you know, how he has taught you about the qualities of humility, patience, unconditional love, serving God, and strength?
Oh my, oh, a lot. The love, the patience he have with us. Let's just get into that. Us as people, you know, as the human family, you know, we are something else. And he continued to love us despite our, you know, our flaws. He continues to just love up on us and support us and be there for us. And then his humility, you know, there's been times where I have been blessed to be in his presence, and as people are wanting to teach him things or share things with him. And he's not an elder that's like, oh, I know it all. He's always willing to be a student and to learn, even in his 80s, is to continue to learn from the younger generation, from all of us. And I think that is true leadership, is that not only are you a leader, but you're also a student. And I am just so blessed to not just be family, but also to be able to work with Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I worked from a lot of the things that I have done. From the Millions More movement was my first major march to work with him on, and to get his guidance and counseling, and to also to see him in the light as a businessman, you know, as a businessman, and so that was a whole nother experience for me. And then so it wasn't just grandpa. It was like, okay, no, I'm talking to the businessman now, you know, and I learned a lot. And then even when the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March and being on tour with him, and seeing, that was my first time being on tour with him, and seeing how he moves. And he wakes up at the wee hours of the morning in prayer and ready to work. And he goes to bed at the wee hours of the night and right back up again. And so his work ethic is he's so disciplined. There's no excuse in the world of why we can't be able to complete our tasks that we need to do, because he's up at 4 a.m. and sometimes at going to sleep at 1, 2 in the morning, and speaking and meeting with back-to-back meetings all the time, and then back on another plane and ready to go. So I mean, that work ethic, I told him when I was on tour, I said, I've been on my own hip hop tours and I've been on tours with rappers, and you move much more. I mean, I'm so more exhausted on tour with you than I am with Wu-Tang Clan or Rock the Bells or anything that I have done, you know. And so, yeah, we could learn a lot from his work ethic that we should also apply in our own day-to-day lives. In order for us to see a nation and to build a nation, you have to have that type of discipline of work ethic.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. And, you know, your mother has helped the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan build bridges between the Black community and our indigenous brothers and sisters as well. And today you are continuing to help him do the same thing, right? And I know you have witnessed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's interaction with our Native American brothers and sisters. What testimony can you give regarding the minister's love and commitment to our indigenous family here in America?
Can you repeat it? My Siri was.
You went out? I got you. Saying, yeah. You, like, what testimony can you give that can give regarding the minister's love and commitment to our indigenous family. Because some people see the minister and they think he's just talking about Black people, but they don't realize that the love that he has specifically in this question regarding our indigenous family as well.
You know, I think that with him he knows what all oppressed people of the world looks like, feels like. He loves our people, period. And with that, you know, I think that he's able to speak from a point of view of his own trials and what he has seen, what he has been through. And I've been on tour with him, and I've been to places throughout my entire life, and seeing him speak to the Native American youth, you know, he's able to speak to the hearts and the spirit of the people. And I think that that is something that we can all learn from. You know, some people say they love our people, but they do not understand our people. They don't understand the spirit. They don't understand the heart of the people. So they just speak it. And then, but in regards to, he doesn't. He's actually feels, you know, now they have a terminology of empath, you know, and I believe that he's always been very empathetic to he's always been able to feel people because he sees the God in them, even when they don't see it in themselves. There is no Black leader that has ever given a constant, consistent place at the table than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that he has done to the so-called Latinos, to Native Americans, to Asians, to Indians from India. The list goes on and on. To all oppressed people of color of this continent, there has of this world. He has never ever. I mean, he's always given them a seat at the table. And a lot of Black leaders do not do that because they only see, as you know, in the Nation of Islam teaching, is universal, and everyone just sees that Black is just themselves, not realizing that Black is universal. And so I've seen, I mean, every single time I have spoken or met with different people, they have given him so much love. And because he speaks to their heart and speaks to their spirit, and he's able to understand, he researches, not just walks in their moccasins, you know, walks in their moccasins, and he goes to these reservations. The same as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He went to the reservations of the Hopi people, of the Navajo Dene people, to the Apache people. You got to be able to get off of, you have to be able to get off the plantation. And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has got off the plantation and been to the byways, the highways, to the barrios, to the reds, to the hood, to get to know who the people is that he is being able to lift them out of the triple darkness into the light.
Wow, that beautiful, sister. Beautiful, beautiful. And so we're approaching our next break, and we'll be back with our sister YoNasda, right? After this break. Thank you all for tuning in.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am YoNasda Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
The national media has falsely portrayed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as this hateful and vindictive man who wants to blame all of the issues that the black community is suffering with on white people. But those who know him and those who have taken the time to hear him for themselves know otherwise.
But you are suggesting that it's basically the white man's fault.
Oh, no, Mr. Wallace. I'm not going to say that. Because justice would not be served if I said it was all the fault of white people.
Reason that
we have to take some blame in this ourselves. As black people, we can't sit around waiting for white people to do for us what we should be doing for ourselves. And our failure to do this is our fault. White folk have done bad by us in the past. Yes, that is true. And they do some bad by us today. But if we did better by ourselves today, we could help to reconcile this difference.
Dear sister, you were one of those who were at the dinner table when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when the hip hop legend Eminem was there in Detroit, right?
Yes.
And can you share with us that experience? Because some people would never think like, oh, Minister Farrakhan meeting with Eminem, or even if Eminem would decide to accept an invitation to meet with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So tell us about that. Spare no details, what you can't share. We all is.
You know, it was a beautiful meeting because of the fact that Eminem really just he lived in a very poor part of Detroit. He grew up around, as a poor white, person. He grew up around nothing but black people and other poor whites in Detroit. And so he's able to understand the point of view of poverty and also understand a point of view of oppression of black people. And so Eminem has bought many land plots throughout Detroit. And the minister was telling him to be able to use this land to be able to have gardening and to feed the people of Detroit. I could tell that his manager, was it Peter Rosenberg or Paul, one of them, Peter Rosenberg and Eminem had a huge amount of respect for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They was just all ears and wanting to learn and wanting to gain, to get knowledge from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and with Eminem because I so.
Wait, your sound went up. Repeat that last part you said. You said that right after you were saying, you said something with Eminem. You were saying.
I don't know what. I'm sorry.
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. This Surrey thing keep on coming on my thing, but you say anything. Yeah. So, but I was joking with Eminem and I was telling him, is this your first time having a bowl of bean soup? And he was like, yes, he's never had it before. So, it was like, just little, it was quite funny, but I was telling him the nutrients of what bean soup and the story behind the navy beans and everything like that. But it was beautiful to be able to see them both, to want to be able to gain wisdom from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at that table. So it was really, really beautiful. He was all ears, mostly just more so just wanting to just learn from him.
That's good. And I'm thankful that you were there to witness that and share what you have witnessed here, because it helps not to paint, but to give people a more truer understanding of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, And I read in an online interview how at the age of 10, you talked about how you learned about the horrific experiences of our ancestors during the transatlantic slave trade, and the story of our ancestors during the Trial of Tears. How did you manage to handle learning those horrific histories at such a young age?
I think that with my mother having me around so many prominent freedom fighters and activists, and my mother wanted to make sure that not only did I know my Oglala Lakota history, but also the other tribes of North America, but also the tribes of Mexico, as well as the tribes of South America, as well as the tribes of Africa, of Australia, of Asia. She wanted to make sure that I learned the history of all indigenous people of the world. Indigenous means original inhabitants of the land. So all indigenous people of the world, my mother wanted to make sure that I learned that. And I knew that. And she knew that as her falling in love with my father to produce a Black and Native American woman, and as well as my brother being Black and Native American, and to know our culture and to know our language and to know our ceremonies and to know, everything about who we are. But all, a lot when we talk about biracial, like having biracial children, and some mothers just teach all of what they know, about themselves. But my mother wanted to make sure, because she knew that this world is very cruel. I am beautifully melanated. When you look at Black and Native American biracial, or any biracial, is usually light skinned with long curly hair, of the stereotype. Now, but what about those that are dark skin or brown skin, with short hair, whatever, that doesn't make me less than Native American, because I don't look like a Native American of the stereotype of what a Native American looks like, And so my mother wanted to just make sure that I knew my culture and knew all culture growing up, not only learning history. My mother also would give me books and to read in regards to Wounded Knee, Trail of Tears, the story of Geronimo, so many different stories, and to also listen to the elders of them sharing these stories as well, of what that's not in the history books. And so I was able to balance history, but what I got from it all is that I looked more at our similarities than our differences. On many platforms that I have been on, I have been ridiculed, I have been mocked, I have been slandered because of the fact that people are saying, well, how is she, they have a separatist mindset instead of looking at our similarities as all indigenous people of the world. Because if we continue to be separate, then we're going to constantly never, ever, ever fight this devil and fight our oppressor, because we're constantly thinking we have a way, we love to glorify our trauma off of separatism, but not being able to glorify the trauma of how we are of us all together. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. We say that, but are we willing to get out of our hood, to go into a Latino community, and to be able to understand the similarity and saying, come and unite with us on business ventures or on land producing or on our social and civil rights? Are we willing to go to the Apache community, the Apache Nation, and stand with them as they're fighting against the mining companies that's trying to take their lands as we speak? Are we willing to go to Minnesota and stand with the tribes that are there that are fighting against the pipeline that is right there? So the thing is that we have to see our similarities than our differences, and we're going to constantly lose this fight against this oppressor if we think that our trauma is more than the other. So when yes, I say Black Lives Matter, they do. I also say Native Lives Matter, because they do. I also say Brown Latino Lives Matter, because they do. And when I go into in all these various communities, I'm hearing the same exact story, that there is racist systems and police officers that are killing our people because of the color of their skin and because of the race or the culture that they belong to. They don't love melanated people of the world, period. They don't love us. And so whether they are native, when you go to my reservation in South Dakota, Native Americans are treated so much worse than the Black people that are in South Dakota. Now, why is that? That's because of the fact that they know that Native Americans' population is just not as vast and as big as Black people. And they know that if they do something to a Black person, then the NAACP is showing up. Black Lives Matter is showing up. There's going to be protests. They're going to go viral, the whole nine. But if they do something to a Native American, then it would just hit just Native throughout Indian country on social media, but mainstream or Black community or Latino community would not hear nothing about it. They still think of us as Native Americans as mascots, or they're still trying to figure out if their grandmother is a Cherokee or is a Choctaw. No one is thinking about and knowing about the right now problems and issues that is happening throughout Indian country. And they keep it designed like that. So the thing is that the only time people want to talk about us is during Indigenous Peoples Day, or or so-called Christopher Columbus Day, or November around Thanksgiving. But we are not just a holiday. We're not just a mascot. We're not just a street sign. We're not just a monument. We are living, breathing people of a population of more than 9 million here in the United States. So the thing is that that's what I always see. I don't look at it. So as I do this work of trying to unite our people on these issues that we're having, I constantly no, I need you to sit down and I need you to hear this mother. 3 of my cousins were murdered by police in South Dakota. Tribal police, white police officers. One of my cousins, I'm just going to share one story with you.
No, go ahead.
We have 2 minutes. Yes, one of my cousins was murdered by this white guy and his son. His father, the white father, said to his son, "Let's go kill an Indian tonight." So they got drunk. They found my cousin. They shot him, burned him alive, sat back while his body was burning in the middle of the field on a reservation in South Dakota, and drank coffee and laughed about it. That happened 4 years ago. 4 years ago. It didn't even make major news. It didn't make local news. That is just one of the stories that happens on a day-to-day basis throughout all Native American nations here in America. So when we're on social media and everyone's all like, well, I have some Native in me, or they say, no, the real Indians look like this and they look like that. No, let's talk about, so if they look like that, are you willing to go to the community to help them get justice, to help them be right by their side? Or you just want to sit here? So if you know that you have Native American in your family, are you willing to walk that road as a Native person and a Black person?
Good point.
So me, as being Black and Native, I have to walk both of those roads. And it's very difficult. It's very stressful, because I'm seeing the pain from both of my people. So there is not one greater than the other. And we should never compare one greater than the other, especially if you say you love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Father Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you say you love those 3 greats,
right,
you should not say that one is greater than the other, because they're the only ones that said the 17 million with
the 2 million Indians. And we got to go to this break. We're going to go to this break, and I want to ask you another question about that when we come back. So we'll go pause for our next public announcements.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "How much more can we stand?" The painful death of Dante Wright, the traumatic death of George Floyd, and the Derek Chauvin murder trial in Minnesota brings into focus how fragile Black life remains, and the constant, elusive, and almost non-existent giving of justice to Black people. How much loss can we stand? And have we had enough? This FCN Volume Number 28 edition features the middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled "The Intensifying Universal Cry for Justice." To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune into the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the NNVnews.com Final Call cover report.
He anointed our head with oil till our cup runneth over. He who, Master Farrakhan, Muhammad, that is he.
As you have seen in our sister's responses, she also works to educate us about the connections that exist between Native Americans and descendants of enslaved Africans. And before I ask you this next question, can you say the name of your cousin who was killed by those savages? So I want those who watch this interview that they can go post on social media and educate themselves about what happened to him.
Yeah, I had two cousins murdered all in 1 month, and I'm trying to remember which one. I believe it was that cousin was Jeffrey Curry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Curry. So for those who are watching, go and check out and go and research about Jeffrey Curry, and I'll get any information. I'll share it on my social media as well. So in addition to the work
that I'm sorry, that's so unfortunate that 3 of my cousins were all murdered in 1 month.
That's a lot.
I'm trying to, it was just.
No, that's a lot. And you know, that could be that's a way how sometimes just to have that on us, you know what I'm saying? And that is a lot. And it's interesting, it leads right into this next question, because in addition to your work as an activist, you also began what our researchers call revolutionary healing. So can you share with us why you did that and what has been the outcome?
You know, this enemy is wicked. And this enemy, I was in Standing Rock protesting against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Standing Rock is in North Dakota. Standing Rock is my sister tribe. And there has been over 50 people that have been diagnosed with cancer being in Standing Rock because they were spraying us with various chemicals. And we just lost in this past week one of our matriarchs of the movement, LaDonna Allard. She passed away of cancer. And we was working on a class action lawsuit against the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is a lot of these banks and everything like that. And so revolutionary healing, you know, so I got diagnosed with lung cancer and last May. And so being diagnosed with lung cancer is scary, you know, especially in the midst of COVID. My mother died of lung cancer. And I would say this summer was, you know, that was Freedom Summer, you know, with George Floyd, the execution of George Floyd, the execution of Ahmaud Arbery, the execution of Rayshard Brooks. This was basically game time, heavy time for many, many activists. And I needed to sit down. And as I was sitting down and organizing from my bed, I'm on chemo. I take a pill, an autoimmune therapy pill every day. And so I have my ups and downs of my side effects. And so I needed to, anytime that I am lost or feeling that what should I do, I always go back to whether it is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speeches or one of his books. And one of our study guides is the basis of community development is self-improvement. And I continue to read that over and over and over again. I said, the basis of community development is self-improvement. And I was like, one of the things that we constantly point the finger of You know, the man need to do this. The man need to do this for us. You know, we're constantly pointing the finger, but we're not acknowledging ourselves. And as leaders, as activists, as mothers, as fathers, even as children, whatever your occupation, we are not acknowledging ourselves. The healers need healing too. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna create a space where we're not just talking about. We usually say, go get counseling, or go start a business, or go do this. We do a lot of go do this, but we're not sitting down with our people to be able to give them the tools and showing them the tools of healing, of self-improvement. And so I started Revolutionary Healing last August, where we go to a new location in the state of Georgia, and where we have these various healing sessions all happening all at the same time, and from people that are teaching about yoga. You know, so you actually do yoga. If you want to learn about how to be able to eat to live, you actually doing and cooking a meal, and you're hands-on and doing it, whether it's art therapy, whether it's talking circles, whether it's the last one we had Sister Katina that did Dianetics, and she actually did some auditing sessions at Revolutionary Healing, where now everyone was like, I want to be a part of this type of therapy, you know. So we do this at Revolutionary Healing. So I would love for you to come to Atlanta, Georgia. We do it on the third Sunday of every month. I always pick a new location, and sometimes some of the healing sessions might be in January. Was conquering your fears. So though they went zip lining, you know. We went horseback riding on a black farm of Brother Patrick's farm of Your Faith Farms, you know, and we did one where you're feeding the animals and just grounding yourself, taking your shoes off, and just being one with everyone, you know. Wow. And then being in tune. So we give people these tools. And so for the next 3 weeks, they can apply those tools, you know, breathing techniques, meditation, you know, fitness, whatever it is, you know. So we do that, and it's called Revolutionary Healing. And you can go to therevolutionaryhealing.com to RSVP. No one knows who the presenters are. We don't promote the presenters until after. And then also no one knows where we're going to be. And we always have it outside because we are still in a pandemic. And we have COVID compliance. Before you come in, you make sure you have your mask on and everything. And we do have a restriction of how many people come just because of the fact of COVID. But it's therevolutionaryhealing.com. So I would love for you to come, you know, either you want to partake or if you want to do a healing session, you know, let me know. And then those that are also viewing, if they will also like to partake and do a healing session as well, depending on what their expertise is in.
Wow. Therevolutionary.com.
Revolutionaryhealing.com.
Healing.com. And as we get ready, this is the last question, that I want the audience to know, and you can help us. You know, I've heard you speak a lot about the challenges that our Native brothers and sisters are facing, you know, suicide, depression. You know, what can we do to help our family to combat these challenges, or just to even help them? Is there anything that we can do?
Oh Lord. I mean, you know, I think that the resources that we're able to provide in regards to auditing, you know, in regards to those that have businesses, whatever it is to go into the community of the nation and of the Native Americans, you know, communities, and being able to learn first. You know, I think that it's important that we learn from each other. And then from there, figuring out, you know, if anyone wants to say, can you help me on X, Y, and Z? You know, and that's what I've learned from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is that he never imposes himself. You know, he's always invited, and always is and if anyone asks for help while he's in those meetings, he helps, you know. And that's within all communities, from the Navajo Nation to many communities that I've been in with him. They usually have asked him, for various things and as well as invites. So I think that it's important to be able to, you can't learn from a book about each other. You can only learn so much. It's important to, there's over 500 federally recognized and non-federally recognized tribes in the United States today. So in every single state, there is a nation, a Native American nation to visit and to go to. And I think that that's the first step, is to learn, because we're not the same type of people. We are very, very different. Everyone doesn't live in teepees. Everyone doesn't wear buckskin. The Southern tribes, it's too hot to wear buckskin.
Different, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Everyone is different. Yeah.
Well, sister, we appreciate what you shared, and I'm telling you, you've expanded some minds today from those who are watching this, and your spirit, I'll tell you this before we close out, your spirit is radiating. Your spirit and your energy is radiating. Even I can feel it. May God continue to bless you. Whatever we can do to help, hit me up. But we appreciate your testimony, and once again, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Can you believe I turned 43?
No, you're not 43.
I turned 43 years old.
Oh my God!
So all praises be to Allah that this year was very, very, very important because of the fact that of just battling cancer. May will be coming up on a year, and I'm still here. My oxygen is at 99%. And so it's a beautiful thing that I'm still kicking.
Yes, man. We thank you, and assalamu alaikum. And we thank each and every one of you all who are actually tuning in to witness this very powerful interview. Make sure you share it. Make sure you hit the like button on NNV. Make sure you hit the notification button, so when we have future interviews, you'll get the notification so you can actually tune in and actually watch it while it is happening. So we're going to quickly close, brothers and sisters. Remember, if you have anything that you want to give to help to contribute to what we're doing here in the city of New Orleans in regards to our mosque mortgage payoff, please contribute. And we thank everybody who has been contributing thus far. Whatever you can send, we greatly appreciate it. And then in addition to that, brothers and sisters, if there's any one of you all who are in need of prayer during this time and even after this time, don't hesitate, family, to come and come and submit your name so we can actually pray for you and your family during this actual time. So we thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all, inshallah, on next Sunday at the same time. Make sure you subscribe to NNV. Stop what you're doing right now. Don't do it tomorrow. Don't do it later. Do it right now. And make sure you tune into this daily news network. This is our own news network. Thank you. This is your Brother Willie Muhammad with I Have a Testimony.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.